Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurnamilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Trinadapi Sunichena Tarad Iva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Iva Kevalam. Kalo Nastyeva, 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 Gatir Anyata. I have selected for tonight a few passages from Prabhupada's books and purports, and the meaning will become self-evident. The Vedic scriptures are like the sun. They do not require anyone else's illumination. They are self-effulgent. They stand as their own supreme authority, and it is up to one to simply accept and implement. First is an excerpt from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. When Lord Chaitanya was finally accepted by the Mayavadi sannyasis at that time living in Benares, Lord Chaitanya was invited by a Brahmana to attend a meeting, and he had invited all the Mayavadi sannyasis to attend. And when Lord Chaitanya arrived, he sat down in the very place where he washed his feet. And immediately, Lord Chaitanya began to exhibit an effulgence as bright as thousands of suns. So all the other Mayavadis, and they were headed by their leader, Prakashananda Saraswati, they truly understood that Lord Chaitanya had achieved complete enlightenment because of his dazzling effulgence. And the Mayavad philosophy is that when you become self-realized, then you become God, you become Narayana. So Prakashananda extended his hand and said, "Your Holiness, why are you sitting in this filthy place? It appears that you have already achieved self-liberation, complete liberation." And so there was a discussion between Lord Chaitanya and Prakashananda Saraswati on the philosophy of the Vedanta Sutra. And in the course of that discussion, Lord Chaitanya says this to Prakashananda. He says, "One who considers the transcendental body of Lord Vishnu to be made of material nature is the greatest offender at the lotus feet of the Lord. For there is no greater blasphemy against the Supreme Personality of Godhead." Now, Prabhupada's purport to this sentence is very significant, and we will learn many important things that are relevant for Radharaman Temple at this time. Prabhupada's guru is quoted in Prabhupada's purport, as he says, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami explains that the variegated personal feature of the Absolute Truth is the Vishnu Tattva, and the material energy which creates this cosmic manifestation is the energy of Vishnu. So Vishnu Tattva is God himself, and the material energy is the emanation or energetic emanation from the Lord. The creative force is merely the energy of the Lord, but the foolish conclude that because the Lord has distributed himself in an impersonal form, namely his energy, they falsely conclude that the Lord has no separate existence. The impersonal Brahman, however, does not possess energies, and nor do the Vedic literature state that Maya, or the illusory material energy, can be covered by another Maya. There are hundreds and thousands of references, however, to Vishnu Maya, such as Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Suryate from the Svetashvatara Upanishad. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 14, Krishna refers to Mama Maya, my energy. Maya is thus controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is that Krishna is covered by Maya. For instance, you and I, we are another energy, Jiva Tattva. There's Vishnu Tattva, the category of God himself. There is Shakti Tattva, the category of the energies of God. And then there's a third, the Tattvas or Jiva Tattva. So that's us. We are controlled by our material body covers us. But that material energy does not cover Krishna or God or Vishnu. Even when they appear in this material world, they are not covered by Maya as we are. Therefore, Lord Vishnu cannot be a product of the material energy. In the beginning of the Vedanta Sutra, it is said, Janmadyasya Yata. So that's the opening phrase of the Vedanta Sutra. After Atato Brahma Jigyasa, then there's this phrase. And it's also the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The material energy is an emanation of the Supreme Brahman. Brahman means spirit, just as the word Atma means spirit. And there is also Padam Atma, or the Supreme Spirit. So there is Brahman, we are Brahman, and then there is Pada Brahman, or the Supreme Brahman. So these two are not the same. There's Brahman or Atma, ourselves, a spirit soul, and then there is Pada Brahman, the Supreme Brahman. However, Krishna cannot be covered by the material energy. If that were possible, material energy would be greater than the Supreme Brahman. Even these simple arguments, however, cannot be understood by Mayavadi philosophers, and therefore the term Maya Aparita Jnana, which is applied to them in the Bhagavad Gita, is extremely important. Anyone who thinks Lord Vishnu is a product of the material energy should be immediately understood to be insane, for one's knowledge has been stolen by the illusory energy. Now the next point Prabhupada makes, Lord Vishnu or Krishna cannot be placed within the category of the demigod. So again, there's Vishnu Tattva and Jiva Tattva. The demigods are all in the category of Jiva Tattva. So Lord Vishnu cannot be placed within the category of the demigods. But those who are actually bewildered by Mayavad philosophy and are still in the darkness of ignorance consider Lord Vishnu to be a demigod, in defiance of the Rig Veda mantra, Om Tad Vishnu Paramang Padam, which means Vishnu is always in the superior position. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Mattak Parataram Nanyat. There is no truth superior to Lord Krishna or Vishnu. Thus only those whose knowledge has been bewildered consider Lord Vishnu to be a demigod, and therefore suggest that one may worship either Lord Vishnu, the goddess Kali, or whomever one likes, and achieves the same result. This is an ignorant conclusion that is not accepted in Bhagavad Gita. Yes, so there is a kind of philosophy, Yatamat Tattapat, which was expounded by Vivekananda, that it doesn't matter who you worship, it doesn't matter, it's all the same. But that's not what the Vedas actually teach. That is not what Bhagavad Gita teaches. As it says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yanti Deva Vrta Devan, Yanti Madhyajino Pimam. The worshippers of demigods will be promoted to the respective planets of the demigods, but devotees of the Supreme Lord will go back home, back to Godhead. So this is another important point. The demigods have their abode, Lord Shiva and Goddess Durga have their abode, and Vishnu and Krishna have their abode. And you will go to those abodes depending on who you worship and how you worship. It's not that all roads end up at the same. That's wrong. That's not what the Vedas actually teach. That's a Mayavad concoction, that all roads ultimately lead to this. No. You worship demigods, that's where you're going. If you worship Lord Shiva or Goddess Durga, then you will go there, to their abode. And if you worship Krishna or Vishnu, then you will go to Vaikuntha, the spiritual abode. This is clearly stated in the Gita, in Bhagavatam, and in the Brahma Samhita. The worshippers of demigods will be promoted to the respective planets of the demigods, but devotees of the Supreme Lord will go back home, back to Godhead. Lord Krishna explains very clearly in Bhagavad Gita that his material energy is very difficult to overcome. Daivi hiyesha guna mayi, mama maya duratyaya. There's the word, duratyaya, most formidable. Practically speaking, impossible to overcome the material world or the material energy, because it is known as Durga, a fortress. So you cannot escape. You cannot just escape it so easily. Maya's influence is so strong that even learned scholars and spiritualists are also covered by Maya, who think themselves to be as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that was the essence of Shankaracharya's philosophy. Basically, Shankaracharya taught that right now you're covered by Maya and illusion, but by meditation and yoga, you will once again understand that you are God. That was Shankaracharya's concoction. That is not what is taught in the actual Vedas. The actual Vedas teach, and the Srimad Bhagavatam teach a different thing altogether. You are part and parcel. You are servant of God. And whether in the liberated condition or the conditioned or the within the material world, you're always going to remain part and parcel, not the whole. Actually, to free oneself from the influence of Maya, one must surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita, here's the line, Mam eva ye prapadyante, mayam etam turantite. So if you want to actually get out of this fortress of the material world, there's only one solution. And Krishna says, you have to surrender to me. This, we could say, is dogmatic. This is the basic teaching of what Bhagavad Gita actually says. That Krishna says, this material energy is my energy, and it's insurmountable unless you surrender to me. It is to be concluded, therefore, that Lord Vishnu does not belong to this material creation, but to the spiritual world. To misconceive Lord Vishnu to have a material body or to equate him with the demigods is the most offensive blasphemy against Lord Vishnu. And such offenders against the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu cannot advance in spiritual knowledge. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita calls them Mayaya Paritagyana, those whose knowledge has been stolen by the influence of illusion. So the whole purpose of Bhagavad Gita and spiritual life is to get out of illusion. And the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, to get out of the illusion, you perform bhakti, devotional service, and that is how you become liberated. Now the third point Prabhupada makes on this statement of Lord Chaitanya, one who thinks that there is a difference between Lord Vishnu's body and his soul dwells in the darkest region of ignorance. Just like the first lesson of Bhagavad Gita is, we are not these bodies, we are not our minds. These are coverings. These are gross and subtle bodies. The spirit soul is completely distinct from the material body and mind. This is the first thing you learn when you correctly study Bhagavad Gita. But that does not apply to Krishna or Vishnu, because there is no difference between Lord Vishnu's body and his soul, for they are Advaigyan, one absolute knowledge. So in the case of Vishnu or Krishna, as opposed to the demigods have material bodies. There's a soul inhabiting that material body. But that's not the case of Krishna or Vishnu. They are their body. They're eternally liberated. They have no dualistic. That's why Advaigyan, one. In this material world, there is a difference between the material body and the spirit soul. But in the spiritual world, everything is spiritual, and there are no such material differences. So in the kingdom of God, in Vaikuntha, everything is conscious, everything is spiritual. Whether it be a tree or a plant or an animal or in a human-like form, as you will see in Vaikuntha, everything is spiritual. Everything, the land, the water, the paraphernalia, the houses, everything is conscious, everything is spiritual. That's Vaikuntha. But in the spiritual world, everything is spiritual, and there are no such differences. The greatest offense of the Mayavadi philosophers is to consider Lord Vishnu and the living entities to be one and the same. In this connection, the Padma Purana states, Arche Vishnau Shila Dhir, Guru Shu Nara Mati. One who considers the Archamurti, the worshipful deity of Lord Vishnu, to be stone. So this helps us to understand Sri Murti, the deity. When in Radha Raman temple, we are looking at the Radha Raman, the deity of Radha and Krishna, we are not supposed to think that this is stone. It's not stone. Because of the absolute nature, that deity, Radha Raman, is actually spiritual. It may look like stone, but if you have transcendental vision, if your eyes are trained with knowledge, if you have jnana chakshus, eyes of knowledge, then you don't see that that's a stone statue. You see this is God. That's why if anyone ever objects, oh, you Hindus, you worship idols. No, Radha Raman is not an idol. That's God appearing for our benefit, a material element but it's not. It's spiritual. So now we'll go to my second reference, and this is from Srimad Bhagavatam. When Kamsa sent Akrura on a mission to bring Krishna and Balaram from Vrindavan to Mathura, and Kamsa actually explained to Akrura his master plan. Akrura, I want you to go to Vrindavan, bring Krishna and Balaram, and I've devised an elaborate plan, and my plan is to kill Krishna and Balaram, because it has been predicted that this Krishna will kill me. So Akrura, even though he was sent by Kamsa, took it as a great blessing, because although Akrura was sent by Kamsa, Akrura was actually a pure devotee of Krishna. So Akrura explained to Krishna and Balaram and the residents of Vrindavan what was Kamsa's plan. And Krishna and Balaram agreed, and they laughed when they heard about Kamsa's plan. And so when Krishna and Balaram were riding on the chariot, leaving Vrindavan, they stopped at the Yamuna and they took their bath. So Krishna and Balaram went to take their bath first, and then they returned to the chariot. But when Akrura then went to take bath, he saw that Krishna and Balaram were again in the Yamuna waters. So Akrura was bewildered. Wait, Krishna and Balaram had already taken their bath. They have already returned to the chariot. Why am I again seeing them? And then Krishna and Balaram turned into Mahavishnu and Sheshanaga. Sheshanaga is a serpent bed, and so Balaram is the origin of that Sheshanaga, Ananta, and Krishna is the origin of Mahavishnu. And so Akrura saw Mahavishnu lying on the bed of Ananta Sheshanaga, and Akrura offered prayers. Akrura is known in the Vedas as having achieved perfection by simply excellently composing prayers. So one of his prayers that he said at that time, Anye cha sanskritatmano vidina bihitena te yajanti twan mayastvam vai bahu murti eka murtikam. Akrura said, in different Vedic scriptures, there are prescribed rules and regulative principles for worshipping different types of forms. But when one is purified by these rules and regulations, one worships you, Krishna, for you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And although manifested in many forms, you are one. So this is another important concept that we need to understand. God is one, but He has the ability to expand Himself into unlimited forms. So there are different categories. His direct personal expansions of Krishna, they are known as Vishnu Tattva. And then there are various energies emanating from Krishna. And then there's again the third manifestation, the living entity, Jiva Tattva. So there's Vishnu Tattva, direct personal expansions of God. Shakti Tattva, the various energies. And then there is the living entity. The living entity is an energy of God. You and I are energy of God. We have individuality, but we're not in the same category as God. God is in His category, The energies are in another category. And then there is the living entities. So the Vishnu Tattva, they are called the unlimited personal manifestations, and the living entities are the limited expansions. So in one sense, we are expansion of God, but we are the limited expansion. All the various Vishnu Narayan forms are unlimited. They have the same potency as Krishna. All of them have the same power because they're in that Vishnu Tattva category. But you and I, the Jiva, we have limited potency. Let's see the purport to this verse by Prabhupada. In the Vedas, it is stated that the one becomes many. Eko Bahusyam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead expands himself into various forms: Vishnu Tattva, Jiva Tattva, and Shakti Tattva. According to the Vedic literatures, there are different regulative principles for the worship of each of these forms. So this is another important point. They're not worshipped all the same or on the same level. There are different principles for the worship of these three categories. If one takes advantage of the Vedic literatures and purifies oneself by following the rules and regulations, ultimately one will come to the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So the key there is, you cannot make up your own method of worship, just as you cannot make up your own driving laws. The government already has driving laws. And if the policeman stops you, you cannot say, oh, in my world, I am allowed to drive like this. I don't accept your laws of California. No, you'll be arrested. You'll be fined because you cannot make up your own driving laws. In the same way, you cannot make up your own laws of religion. That may be true for some man-made religion, but our religion is not man-made. The very phrase, Dharman tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. What is the laws of God? It is what God says. That's the actual law. That's Dharma. Yamaraj was asked, and so he spoke this line, Dharman tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. What is Dharma? What is religion? The Word of God. Same thing is there in the Bible. Same thing. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. Same concept. You cannot make up your own religion. Yeah, you can make it up, but it's quackery. It has no meaning. It has no substance. No, the law comes from God Himself. What God says, that is religion. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mama Vartmanu Vartante Manusha Partha Sarvasha. Worship of demigods is in a sense worship of God, but such worship is said to be avidhi purvakam. That's directly taken from 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Avidhi purvakam means improper. Actually, demigod worship is meant for the uninformed. For one who is intelligent considers the words of Krishna, the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. One who worships the demigods worships the Supreme Lord indirectly. But if you actually study the Vedic literatures, there's no need to worship Him indirectly. You can worship Him directly. And that direct worship of God, as is explained in Bhagavad Gita, is called Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti yoga means direct worship of God. At least 3 times in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, you want to see me? Bhakti. You want to understand and know me? Bhakti. You want to return to me? The answer is bhakti. Therefore, Krishna says twice in Bhagavad Gita, Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. So, manmana, think of me. There you have the supreme religion. Always think of Krishna or Vishnu. If you're a Ram Bhakta, then always think of Ram. You do that, you are perfect. Manmana bhava mad bhakta. Become my devotee. Madhyaji, become my worshipper. Offer your obeisances. That's why real devotees, real Vaishnavas, when they come before the deity, the Sri Murti, they bow down, because that's this line, namaskaru. They bow down, or at least, if they're not going to bow, at least they're going to offer prayers. But we see in the lives like Srila Prabhupada, anytime he entered the temple, he would go down and bow down, dandavat, before the deity. Lord Chaitanya did the same thing. Whenever he saw the deity of the Lord, immediately bowing down, offering prayers. Let's look at our next reference. So this is a different sequence when Lord Chaitanya was instructing his disciple, Sanatan Goswami. It's a very large section of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Lord Chaitanya is teaching chapter after chapter the science of the absolute truth. So one of these statements that Lord Chaitanya informed Sanatan: when the Supreme Personality of Godhead glances over the material energy, she becomes agitated. At that time, the Lord injects the original semen of the living entities. To impregnate with the seeds of the living entities, the Lord himself does not directly touch the material energy, but by his specific functional expansion. In that way, he touches the material energies, and thus the living entities, who are his parts and parcels, are impregnated into material nature. So here the context is, at the time of the cosmos, the material cosmos being annihilated, because the material cosmos goes through 3 phases: creation, maintenance, and then destruction. So there is a period when the material manifestation is not present. So all the souls who were not fit to go to the spiritual world, they enter the body of Mahavishnu. And when there's a time again, when the time is coming for the material creation to come about, then all those living entities have to come out of the body of Mahavishnu and enter the material energy. So Lord Chaitanya, his program was, after making a statement, he always corroborates it by quoting from the Vedic scriptures. In this case, Lord Chaitanya is quoting Lord Kapila instructing his mother Devahuti in the science of Krishna consciousness in the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So here's the quote. At a time beyond memory, after agitating the material nature into 3 qualities, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance, the Supreme Personality of Godhead placed the semen of innumerable living entities within the womb of material nature. This material nature gave birth to the total material energy, known as the Hiranmaya Mahat Tattva, or the original symbolic representation of the cosmic manifestation. In due course of time, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mahavakuntanath, by the energy of an expansion of his personal self, Mahavishnu, placed the seed of the living entities within the womb of material nature. So Mahavishnu is an expansion of Mahavaikuntanath. He's Narayan, he's God. Now the purport by Prabhupada will help us to understand this. It is very, very interesting. So I urge you to pay close attention. Prabhupada writes, according to Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, Mamai Bangsho Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, Manakshastan Indriyani Prakritishtani Karshati. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. So this is fundamental teaching of the Vedas of Bhagavad Gita. We are Krishna's parts and parcels, nobody else's. So all of us, our original father is Krishna. We all have the same father. The spirit soul emanates from Krishna. But due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. And nowadays, because of this coronavirus, everybody can readily identify with this verse of Bhagavad Gita, struggling very hard. We're all right now struggling very hard. Prabhupada continues. The word Prakriti Sparshana is explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita in reference to the way the living entities come in contact with the material energy. The glancing is performed by Mahavishnu. And then Prabhupada quotes the Aitreya Upanishad, very famous phrase, Sa Aikshata Lokanu Srija Iti. In the conditioned stage, you and me, we impregnate according to the bodily conception, that is, by sexual intercourse. But the Supreme Lord does not need sexual intercourse to impregnate. The impregnation is performed simply by his glance. So this is step one. As I said, all the living entities are within the body of Mahavishnu, but it is time for them to pick up where they left off and get their new material bodies. So they have to be injected into the womb of material nature. But Mahavishnu does not directly contact the material nature, the material energy. Simply by his glance, the living entities are injected, just by looking. Therefore, Prabhupada quotes the Brahma Samhita. Angani yasya sakalendriya vritti manti, pasyanti panti kalayanti chirang jaganti. Ananda chinmaya sad ujvala vigrahasya, govindam adi purusham tamahang bhajami. Govinda can impregnate simply by glancing. In other words, Krishna's eyes can work as his genitals. He does not need genitals to beget a child. After all, Lord Brahma is generated from Garbhodakashayi Vishnu's navel. He doesn't even need the help of Lakshmi. Lord Brahma appears directly out of the body of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu when he sprouts the golden lotus. And on top, Lord Brahma appears. So Brahma's mother and father is Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. The word Svangsha, Visheshabhasha Rupe indicate the form by which the Lord begets living entities in the material world. and it is explained herewith. That form is Lord Shiva. In the Brahma Samhita it is stated that Lord Shiva is another form of Mahavishnu and is like yogurt. Yogurt is nothing but milk, but yet it is not milk. Similarly, Lord Shiva is considered the father of this universe, and material nature is considered the mother. The father and mother are known as Lord Shiva and Goddess Durga. So together, Lord Shiva's genitals and the vagina of Goddess Durga are worshipped as the Shiva Linga. This description is the origin of the material creation. Thus, Lord Shiva's position is in between that of an ordinary living entity like you and me, and in between that and the Supreme Lord. In other words, Lord Shiva is neither the Supreme Personality of Godhead nor a living entity. He's in his own category. Therefore, we have another Tattva, Shiva Tattva. It is not exactly the same as Vishnu Tattva, and it is definitely not Jiva Tattva. So Lord Shiva, and there are different Lord Shivas, Lord Shiva is in his own unique category, Shiva Tattva, in between, or as the Brahma Samhita, milk and yogurt. Vishnu Tattva is like milk, and Shiva Tattva is like yogurt. Now, milk and yogurt are basically the same, but still there's a difference. This is the subtlety of this philosophy known as Achintya Bheda Abheda. Something can be one and at the same time different. This is super advanced understanding of the absolute truth. Super advanced. That something can be one and at the same time different. To be able to see like that that means you have transcendental knowledge. In other words, Lord Shiva is the form which the Supreme Lord works to beget living entities within this material world. So, as I said previously, Lord Mahavishnu does not directly touch the material energy, Durga. He simply glances at her. So that glance of Mahavishnu takes the form of Shambhu or Lord Shiva, and they have intercourse, and thus all the living entities who were in the body of Mahavishnu thus re-enter the material world when there's a time for everyone to get their new bodies. As yogurt is prepared when milk is mixed with a culture, the form of Lord Shiva expands when the Supreme Personality of Godhead is in touch with the material nature. The impregnation of material nature by the Father, Lord Shiva, is wonderful because at one time, innumerable living entities are conceived. So we must always understand these different categories, and we cannot mix and match them. That is called rasa basa, mixing the different categories. So there's Vishnu Tattva, and then there's Shakti Tattva, and there's Jiva Tattva, and then there is Shiva Tattva or Rudra Tattva, different categories of understanding. Thank you very much. I will chant. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.